Fathers who abandoned your family, why'd you do it? Since it is Father's Day, many who grew up without a father want to know. When I was young, I suffered a traumatic brain injury. Now in my 30s, I am suffering the aftershock of that event. I confuse easily, my memory is falling apart in little pieces. I have to ask people to repeat themselves often because their words make no sense to me the first and sometimes second time around. Like gibberish, sleep disorders, depression, clinical severe, and I have close to no control over my emotions. I wasn't always like this. I was a husband and a father to 4 kids. For 12 years, I was married. One morning, after a fight with my then wife, I attempted suicide. I was in a psych ward for around 8 days. And when I was released, I was picked up by an advocate and driven to the airport to fly back to our home state to seek help with my mental health. 2 months after arriving, I received divorce papers in the mail. So, I'm not a part of my children's lives, because I'm becoming more and more unbalanced each passing year. I'm 33 years old. I am losing my memories. I have absolutely no control over my emotions. I understand why she did it. I don't want my kids to find their daddy dead because he committed suicide. I guess it's not fair of me to want to be back in that life. All I ever wanted to be was a father and a husband. But because of my problems that won't go away, I was sent on a plane 3,000 miles away from the only things I cared about. I know I'm a burden. I know that I'm getting worse. The thought never occurred to me that the mother of my children would throw me away. I wouldn't have done it to her. Not like this. I'm so sorry. To anyone who has to live without a dad. I want to be a father to my children, but that was taken from me when I was thrown from a car and suffered a TBI. I don't get to have that life anymore because the woman I was with for 16 years decided I wasn't worth the trouble. I was a young 20-year-old virgin college student. She was 18 years old and bipolar. Just 2 months into our relationship, she attempted suicide by ODing on her Xanax. I rushed her to the ER, where she ended up in the psych ward. I continued to visit her for another few months because she was my first girlfriend, the first girl I had sex with, and I had codependency issues. I had sex with her again when she got out of the psych ward, and she ended up pregnant. I panicked and insisted on an abortion. Initially, she agreed, but then changed her mind and got angry at me for suggesting it. I didn't know what to do and bought her an engagement ring because I thought it was the right thing to do. My parents convinced me that it was dumb to marry a girl I'd only known for 4 months just because of a baby, especially one with mental issues, so I backed out. She ended up really hating me after that, and when summer came, we both went home thousands of miles away from each other. I was ashamed, so I didn't tell anyone about the baby except my immediate family. It was easier to just pay the child support and pretend that nothing happened. Eventually years passed by, and with each year, it felt more and more awkward to try to make contact. I would occasionally cyber stalk the mother, and I have found that she's recovered from her mental illness and become a great mom who met a great guy that she ended up marrying. It's now 15 years later, and my daughter is thriving, judging by Facebook pictures. I wouldn't mind if she wanted to reach out to me, but at this point, I would just be intruding on their happy lives to reach out to them. I came back from a tour to find out my wife was pregnant. I was 99% sure it wasn't mine because things were rocky for months before I deployed, dead bedroom. I straight up asked her about it. She started off being defensive and accusatory, but eventually she told me that okay, she had been sleeping with a friend of mine while I was gone with the intent of getting pregnant. I asked for a test and she laughed at me, which was enough proof for me. I filed for divorce and she delayed. She also let her friends and family in on it, but said I was leaving her because I didn't want to raise my child. It got to my family as well, and despite explaining the situation, they said they would disown me if I left her. They even tried using the PTSD talk that was in the news about military in general against me, as if my background meant I was touched and should just accept being trapped by someone I used to love. I was stressed, but I am not an idiot. Not long after, I just grabbed what I could as fast as I could and left. If I ever go back, I'll face criminal charges because I am being held legally responsible for a life that cannot possibly belong to me. There is still no test, and at this point, I would not be surprised if one had been produced and tampered to empower the lie. I am thinking it will catch up to me one day, but until then I am living relatively okay elsewhere. It is not right what she did, and I refused to kneel. I would sooner die, or have my legs broken to force surrender, than willingly support a woman who attempted to get me to raise a kid that was a result of her own bullshit. She may get me eventually, but by then it'll be too late. She is not getting the payout she planned on. Instead, she is raising a kid alone, though I left her with a nice sob story obviously. And if, when the sword finally comes down, it'll just be so she can feel like she finally got me. She pointlessly ruined both our lives with this crap. I would have given her a kid on return. I just didn't want to impregnate her and then die and leave my unborn child fatherless, and I am never going to forgive her for that. I was 19 when my son was born. I was addicted to heroin. In no position to be a father. My son out's now 6, I'm almost 26. I've spent years relapsing on and off, being in and out of his life. I ended up moving to a different state to get sober. I've been sober for a year and a half and fear keeps me here. It seems like he has a good life and I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to do as good a job as the people raising him. I'm in a lot of debt. I don't make all that much money, so I wouldn't be able to provide for him like they do. I know that's all bullshit, but I'm terrified of actually being a father. I feel that there is a slight possibility. I have a 3-year-old child. I had a one-night stand over 4 years ago. Met her at a bar through a friend of a friend of a friend. We have no mutual friends. A couple months later, she's pregnant. We were using a condom, but she told me to take it off because she was on the pill. So I did, but I never climaxed, so I feel like the chance she got pregnant that night is unlikely. Plus she also told me the child wasn't mine, because the conception date was a couple weeks different, after I inquired, and then I lost contact with her, but she has my name/info. But I saw photos on FB a few months ago when she popped up as a suggested friend, because her number was still in my phone. I think the child looks a little like me, but IDK if I'm just being paranoid or not. What if the wrong guy is raising the child, or else no man is, and she just never told me? I don't know what would happen. I don't know if I could be in the kid's life. TLDR, girlfriend steals $47,000 from me. I snap, eventually moving to a completely different continent. I had been dating this girl for about 3 years when she got pregnant and had our son. Our relationship had its ups and downs, but was alright for the most part. I was playing poker semi-professionally at the time, still had a PT job, and I didn't have investments or savings. It was all in my poker bankroll. I had about $60,000 in cash in our apartment, which I kept in paper bags in a safe. I ducking kick myself every day that I didn't just put it in a bank, but I was worried about taxes. Every time I'd get to $10,000 in a bag, I'd put an elastic around it and I'd start a new one. I had a horrid run of cards over the course of a few months, and when the money finally ran out, I had to open up one of my sealed bags. To my complete shock, there was only like $4,500 in it. I opened the others, and they were all missing 70 to 90% of their contents. I was left with just over $13,000 when I should have had $60,000. My girlfriend was the only one who knew about the safe. I have no idea how she got the combination. She confessed that she was stealing from me for over a year, taking a few hundred here, a few hundred there. She took trips with her friends to the mountains, Mexico, and Vegas all on my dime. What got me was her attitude. After 2 minutes of apologizing, she was done. Then it's no big deal. You can always make more money and we're a common law couple. We're supposed to share everything. When I kept pressing and pressing to find out where the $47,000 went, she finally snapped and showed me her true colors. Textbook sociopath. When she went to work the next day, I took our 1-year-old to her parents, packed up my clothes and left. The apartment was in her name. I didn't care about the furnishings. I left her a note saying to duck herself and to never contact me again. I moved across the country that following week to pursue poker full-time in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. I was playing with scared money, and any profits I made got wiped out by the high cost of living. After about half a year there, I took my remaining money to SE Asia, where my plan was to live a hedonist lifestyle till the money ran out / the bank wouldn't lend me any more credit. Then I'd end myself. I've been here in SE Asia ever since. My life back home is such a distant memory, it doesn't even feel real anymore. I'm 32 years old. I have like $4,000 to my name. I make $500 to $800 per MO from internet poker to pay my expenses. My life is a complete ducking train wreck, and I'll be surprised if I make it to see my 35th birthday.